What is going on, guys? Welcome into the Creed of Crypto podcast. How you doing on this Wednesday evening? It is, as always, Boi Crypto here with you. I have here with me as well my friend and co-host Crypto Ewok. We've got a lot to get into this evening. We got a good show for you. We got RH talking about and pumping these PulseChain copies from Ethereum tokens, and a few of them anyway, have been doing really, really well. We're going to talk a lot about those tonight. Which ones may be worth getting into? What RH's kind of system is, or what he's thinking about as far as advertising for PulseChain and what his priorities are. We're going to get to that and a whole lot more. We have all these banks that submitted applications for these ETFs now saying that they are officially partnering with CoinBase, making that clear. Well, they're being sued by Gary Gensler and the SEC. So how's all that going to work out? We'll check that out as well. But we got a whole bunch to talk about in the world of DeFi, in the world of PulseChain, in the world of HEX, and a whole lot more. If you're here right now and are one of our normal viewers, smash the like. We very much appreciate it. You can subscribe to the channel, Creed of Crypto on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. Ewok, how you feeling this evening about the market and just life in general?
Feeling good. It's another Wednesday, another hump day, halfway through the week. You know, it's been a easy week with the holiday. I hope everybody had a safe and enjoyable one. It was good for me. Feeling good.
Yeah.
We're still there. You know, it's still that boring time, and you're going to get the same answer out of me here for several weeks, if not a couple months anyway. You know, it's just kind of grinding it out. It's not going anywhere, not going up, not going down. You know, is what it is.
Yeah, we're pretty much right where we have been. But yeah, I hope everybody had a good Independence Day, 4th of July. Weird landing on a Tuesday, not the best day, I feel like, for the 4th of July. Wednesday would not be great either. Give us like a Monday or a Thursday or a Friday. That way it kind of bleeds into the weekend a little bit more. This is a very weird setup. But yeah. We are here regardless on the 5th of July. So welcome in, everybody. Andrew, we got Nasser Belay in the chat, grounded in HEX as always, a whole lot more, another Rotary Fathom, just reading them kind of quickly. So welcome in, everybody. Hit us up in the chat as we do go. First off tonight, we'll just talk real quick, checking out the prices of everything, just doing a quick heat check on stuff. We've got Bitcoin at about 30.5K, so still hovering up over that 30K mark, which is still good, still bullish. We've had some good daily and weekly closes here for Bitcoin recently, which, why do we care or talk about that? Well, because it still does carry most of the market. So we'll keep paying attention to that. Ethereum up over 1,900 at 1912 by the look of it right now. Checking out the PulseX prices, we have PulseChain at about 9% under the SAC rate at the moment at 4091. PulseX still down pretty much at its lows. PulseX is available for its nut low so far in this market. If you want to scoop up some, contrary to what people on Twitter might be saying, because they are afraid, now would be the time to do it. It's about 71% down from the SAC rate. HEX on PulseChain, well, we should just combine them, but they're at about 2.1, 2.2 cents. HEX on PulseChain is 1.4. HEX on Ethereum is about 76% of a penny right now, hitting that kind of support zone that it has been hitting. So yeah, I mean, Ewok, you're right. I mean, 2023, said it a million times, this is an accumulation year, but hey, we now, these first few days of July, we're in the second half of the year now. So I think we're going to see, we've already seen bullish action this year, especially as opposed to the shit show that was 2022. I think we're going to see even more of it here in the second half. Well, what do you kind of make? You don't have to give us a specific call, but whatever. What do you think we see with the market here the second half of the year, and where do you see Bitcoin going? Because I could see some really bullish stuff, and by the end of 2023, getting into the 40Ks possibly for BTC. I wouldn't say much more than that, but I could see it dipping into the 40s a bit. So what are you kind of thinking about the second half of this year?
Yeah, I think we could bang around too. I think we had made that prediction some time ago, but yes, I do think it could get into the 40s, low 40s, and then dip around. There's going to be peaks and valleys. You know, I think they slowly go up a little bit as they pull back. You know, every time they pull back, you're going to be like, oh, I thought that was it. I thought that was it. You know, it's a bunch of fake outs is what happens, and people become complacent. And I think that's part of this, psychological messing with you that the market does. So every time you think this is it, and then it pulls back again, and it's not. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think we could touch 40K by the end of the year, closer probably to the end than closer to now. But we have a lot of interesting stuff coming up. There's an election year coming up. There's the halvening coming up. There's a lot of key points to keep an eye out for that are
These
there.
ETFs, all these ETF
Well, the
applications
ETFs,
too.
if I know, when you look at it this way, I think what we see, I think BlackRock had to resubmit their filing.
Yeah.
They had submitted it. There probably was something wrong with it or whatever it was, but they had to resubmit and correct it. But in my past experience with BlackRock, what they want, they kind of get. So
Hmm.
we'll see.
Yeah, and speaking of them, actually, them and I think Fidelity, a few of them had to refile it, and a lot of it was actually clarifying that Coinbase is basically their partner. So a lot of it is that might be dumbing it down, but like basically establishing Coinbase's role in their ETF application, which
As
again,
as
go
the
ahead.
custodian, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, they're, of course, being sued by Gary Gensler and the SEC. So I was going to talk about that in a minute. But to your point, Ewok, because BlackRock was the main catalyst out of all these banks doing this, they own everything already. They were the first one to really file for this. Today, Larry Fink, BlackRock CEO, I'm sure if you guys are watching, you may have seen this on Twitter already today, but he was on Fox News, Fox Business actually, and I think actually called nothing that's new to us, but called Bitcoin like digital gold, talked about it being an international asset. Basically, the suits are here when it comes to crypto now. I mean, and that's something that, was an inevitability. I mean, there's no point really fighting it, I don't think. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. I don't think it is a good thing. I'm literally looking at a tweet by Michael Saylor right now celebrating this piece of news. Like, what happened to the, cypherpunk attitude and the self-sovereignty and stuff? And now it's just like, oh, yeah, we've got a spot ETF and they're all celebrating it. So
Yeah.
I'm not, this was going to happen. I'm not saying it wasn't going to happen. That's fine. I don't care about those people being involved in Bitcoin. And I think it's going to help diminish returns, frankly, over time. So what say you about that?
I agree. I think I think short term it's going to help. It's going to help these guys pump their bags. That's why they're excited, first of all, because it's going to be tough to get back to those not back, but to get to those 6-figure Bitcoin prices without them. I don't see it happening without the bigger institutional money because it's so heavy now. It's so hard to move the price without that. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that that's why they're excited because they know they'll see those higher prices. But what they get long term could be a different story. I think there could be, you're just asking for a lot more manipulation, a lot more middlemen that want their piece of the pie. And yeah, long term, I don't see it as being a good thing. But
Yeah.
again, that's why they're happy is because it pumps their bags.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of one of those things where, like, water is wet. I mean, this was going to happen. We should, anybody that denies that they thought it was going to happen. I mean, this was going to happen eventually. It just, I don't love it for crypto, but it was going to happen. So we just got to find our ways around it. And if it's still like the crazy gains over the next, 8 to 10 years that you're after, well, Bitcoin's just not going to be the way to do it, unfortunately. So you'll have to find another plan if you are looking in that direction. We'll talk about some of those tonight. But in terms of these ETFs, so yeah, officially naming Coinbase as their custodian and stuff like that with it. Gensler's got to be gone, right? I mean, I know we saw what I think was a fake piece of news over the weekend that you got duped by Ewok because you're gullible like that. No, I'm just messing with you. But it was going around and a lot of people quoted it that Gensler himself was stepping down. I don't think there was truth to that. But certainly, like, he's got to be on the ropes. Like, he's basically shitting on every single person's party in the world right now when it comes to this stuff.
Well, if he's not on the ropes, then it's pretty obvious that he was paid to be put there to do the things that he's doing. I mean, if they're not fed up with what he's doing and how he's running the show, then it's a clear picture to me that he was put there to do this stuff. from the guys running the show. So, that's how I look at it. If he survives another year, even, then we know he was placed to do a job, to attack the market, bring some FUD to a lot of things, so that these bigger banks could probably get in at a better entry price. So
yeah, yep, and that makes total sense, and that's why we've had some speculation. And I saw somebody ask this question on one of our streams within the last couple of weeks when this ETF news started, and they said, why would this be bearish for price action eventually, or why would this help diminish the gains? Well, because of what you just said, Ewok. I mean, yeah, we're having like right now, and actually not even probably still now, but over the last few months, we've had these institutions buying at the back end of the FTX days in November of last year. You don't think they wanted to scoop up $15,000 BTC? At that time, we've now done a 2x off of that. Regular folks in retail aren't going to be buying into this stuff until deep into 2024 again, probably. So, they're going to be buying when it's running up to the 60Ks again, getting to previous all-time highs, surpassing all-time highs. And that's why some have speculated that once we get a little bit beyond those all-time highs, we may not see just the standard thing. So we did about a 3x off of 20K, the previous market's top at 69K. Does that just mean we do a 2x? Well, that would still be 140K BTC in this coming bull market. I just don't know. I don't know with all of these major players coming in. So I know we've kind of approached this before, but what do you think about that? I know we're looking a couple of years down the road still, but what do these huge institutions coming in do to Bitcoin's price and the market cap of crypto as a whole this cycle?
Well, again, I think early on, it's good. I think it gives people a little more trust. For some reason, they like to trust their banks. And I do think we hit, I said before, I think it's 135, 140 ish is my top call. I don't think it goes much more than a 2x, but we'll see what that whole trust mechanism built into some of these ETFs and the trading funds, now that it'll be on the major market. Well, it's really hard to say. I don't like the thought of injecting more middlemen into the whole thing. Again, I think it always corrupts things. It could be a short-term bullish thing, but long-term bearish for it. But we just have to wait to see how it plays out.
I agree with you. I'm at the point where I would honestly be ecstatic with 140K BTC this next cycle. I mean, if we would get there, there's a lot of people just like claiming, and they're traders because they are always kind of behind the eight ball, I think, with the overall market in a longer time frame. But they're just acting like it's fact. I saw that Pintoshi account talking about 180K BTC in 2026. Honestly, I heavily doubt that. But yeah, I think people just have to kind of look at the environment right now and see where we are. If we get six-figure BTC this time around, I will be very, very happy. So, I know a lot of people out there are still just claiming that that's definitely going to happen. We'll see. I hope that it does. But again, this is why if you are still in it for the newer products that have more gains than just the paltry ones you'll get from BTC and even ETH, maybe at this point, we'll talk about those tonight, obviously. So, yeah, smash a like if you guys are here. We do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's talk PulseChain. Let's talk Richard Heart ecosystem. So the big thing this past week, and maybe we'll pull up some tweets. I know you were looking on the back end, Ewok. I'll go to Richard's timeline too, unless he's deleted any. I don't know. We ran into that issue last week. But so he had been, I'm not going to use the word shill and pump and everything because everybody acts like anybody talking about any token is like shilling it and stuff. But he's been talking about welcoming the Pepe community to, which is just funny to say, but to PulseChain, which frankly, that's a community along with like Shiba. I think that would be good to do that because there are just that, a very good community that when finding out that their coin that doesn't really do anything has copies of it on PulseChain, you could pump the price of that as well. But he was talking about that. Aave has done really, really well this week as far as its PRC-20 token on PulseChain. Chainlink has done well. I know I'm missing a couple, I believe. A lot of these DeFi coins, I think Uniswap maybe did okay. but a lot of them pumped. And I candidly dumped what remaining I had of them and put it into PulseX because it's been at the bottom. So, so we are seeing that. What do you make of, and Richard's already kind of done a 180 on this a bit. And, you know, he's been doing a lot of this recently where like he'll go one direction and then realize the crowd overreacts, takes things the wrong way. So he kind of tamps it back a little bit. But what do you think about him just reaching out to the communities of some of these other tokens saying, hey, FYI, guys, you probably don't know it yet because it's still early days, but you have copies of these on PulseChain. People had a problem with it for whatever reason because people have a problem with everything. But what's your take on it, Ewok?
Well, he's marketing. It's simple. He's marketing. He's made comments that people aren't listening to. There's a lot of misinterpretation, I would say, from the way he's trying to market his chain. He's like, well, he's pushing this. And, you know, we were told we shouldn't be talking about these other coins. Well, no, he's trying to get these other communities into our casino. He made a comment at one point that said something. Would you rather gamble or would you rather own the casino?
Right.
And for us with PulseX, it's owning the casino and Pulse for that matter. You know, he's trying to get the word out there to these communities that, hey, you got something a lot cheaper over here. And I think what's going to happen is a lot of guys are going to come over. They're going to see the value. They're going to dump it. And then guess what? In the bull market, when the fees are really, really high, I think they all come back and they say, hey, let's go back over here and see how cheap it is to transact. So I don't think there will be immediate price performance. I think you're going to see a lot of dumping. So as these communities come in, extract a bunch of value, might not be a bad idea to pick up a handful, $50, $100 worth of some of these tokens after they do dump them and pull the value out. Now I wouldn't go too high because I don't think there's a whole lot of liquidity yet, but it could be a good opportunity once they do pillage, you know, what is there. It may be a good idea to pick some of them up. I could see them coming back after they realize, you know, there's so many people that get free value. Look at how many people, well, that's a bad example because during the Uniswap airdrop, Hex was just launching in its infancy, and pretty much everybody that dumped the Uniswap token for the Hex token did extremely well, even though it ran up quite well. So I could see a lot of people thinking that, you know, that nothing's going to happen over here. But again, they don't know the dedication of the Hexicans either. I think it's going to take a little while, but it's going to take off. It's just like a lot of other chains. So yeah, I think it could be a good idea. You know, again, I'm not pushing any token in particular, but a $50 moon bag is not going to hurt you if you have it. Don't sell something else for it. But if you've got some fresh capital, you know, it can't hurt. But again, I still think Hex, both chains, PulseChain and PulseX are our best plays. But if you want a $50 or $100 moon bag of something and you're bored, wait till that community comes in and dumps it all. And then I really think they'll be back in the bull run when Ethereum fees get to be, again, $50 to send a transaction. And it's only pennies over here. I think that's going to be our time to market it. It's a good time right now to get the word out that, hey, we're here. Hey, your stuff is here. Come check it out. But more than likely, that's what will happen. They'll come over, they'll see it, and be like, "Oh, here's a couple extra $1,000 that I've got sitting," and you know, thinking that they're smarter than everyone else, they'll sell it. So,
yeah,
my thoughts.
No, I think you're right. I think right now, you know, the people that are even paying attention and coming over to PulseChain right now, I mean, PulseChain, you know, remember, I mean, even though we talk about it every single day, it's still only been 5 weeks. No, more than that, 6, 7 weeks or so.
I think I looked, it was 54 days, right, today?
Yeah. So just about 2 months. Yeah. July 12th-ish would be 2 months. So it is still so early, but I agree with you. Like, look at the ones, and also, you know, maybe don't just start from any random token, but like, say what you want about Pepe. It looks like it's going to be one of the main meme coins to this coming cycle. Shiba is already there, and they have the whole Shibarium thing going on. They actually have some sort of ecosystem now. I'm looking right now. Cardano is actually, the Cardano copy on PulseChain has pumped the most so far today. That's the first I've even heard it mentioned. So these are pumping. Pepe is up a 2x today. Like, is that today? Yeah, in the last 24 hours. So it is happening. So check the charts on these, but also, you know, have some kind of fundamental analysis to it too. I mean, like, are these good communities? Are these good DeFi products on the original Ethereum chain? You know, like Chainlink, Aave. Well, I don't think that Uniswap, Uniswap's like pretty much a useless token on, well, overall, it's a governance token. But while these tokens may not give you the best price performance, we think, on Ethereum heading into this bull cycle, if you want to take a punt, like Ewok just said, with a small amount of your bag, which again, I would put new money in, I wouldn't be selling any PulseChain stuff I'm holding to do this. Yeah. But if you wanted to take a small punt, I definitely think money could be made. I mean, that's up to the individual. I'll be honest with you. I don't really have interest in doing that right now. You can say whether you do or not, Ewok. I mean, you really have to identify which ones would be important to you. PulseX, PulseChain, eHEX, all these tokens that I think are basically the best performers that I have the utmost confident in to this coming bull cycle. They're just discounted too much. I just want to buy them right now. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I personally won't be doing it, but if you are looking for a play, it was merely a suggestion that please wait, wait till the community gets a hold of it, and then, like I said, it could be a good time to place a bet if you really wanted to do that.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the tokens here. We have a token called Fuck You in all caps. It's up 56% today. Token is FUCK. We got Baby Richard Hart on there. Be rich. Yeah, so there's some trash, but then there's also, again, like some legitimate communities and legitimate tokens from the other side on Ethereum. Solana is actually up the most in the last week as far as PRC-20 copies. So, have at it. I would definitely be careful with these, but I do think it's something that let's go back to the RH thing. Yeah, I agree with you. He's advertising for his chain, and he's never. It seems ridiculous to even explain this, because it seems easy to make the distinction between him advertising for PulseChain, again, as he said, you said, Ewok, the casino that we all already own. He's not telling people to, you know, buy Pepe on PulseChain with leverage or anything like that. Right. So, are there any specifically, if there were any that you were going to look towards, the copies that you'd be interested in at some point, specifically you would name that you'd be interested in from Ethereum?
Not really. I probably won't purchase any of them.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to either.
I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I mean, like I said, it's only a few bucks here or there if you're going to do that, but everybody's got their own decision and their own money to do with what they want. But as for me, I probably will not mess with any of them.
Right. He did. I wanted to see what he said specifically. I'm going through Richard's Twitter, but I know he said something basically about he went back about he basically explicitly said, like, instead of talking about these other tokens, trying to bring those communities, he actually quoted or referenced Vitalik with Ethereum and said that he's not necessarily out there shilling and telling people about the different tokens on Ethereum or anything like that. Here it is. He said, you rarely see Vitalik Buterin promoting ERC-20s. He primarily owns Ethereum, and when people buy ERC-20s, they're not buying ETH. So why would he hurt the performance of what he owns? Even worse would be people sold ETH to buy ERC-20s. Selling is worse than not buying. Many should learn from him. So I think, like, he just kind of learned this multi-day lesson of maybe there's no point in trying to actually bring these communities here. And, you know, he's just going to pump what he created, and people will see these. So I don't know. I mean, we're seeing like an evolution. This has never been done before, like we've said. So,
right.
Yeah. What direction do you think he takes it from here?
Well, I agree. I think so. I mean, he said, I've learned, I've altered my course. You know, it's all experiment for him at this point. And I think he's just kind of testing the waters to see. And right now, it's not worth. I don't want to say promoting something that he shouldn't be, because he's free to do what he wants, right? But I just think that it's all a test. He's seeing what works, what doesn't work, and then he pivots. Richard's always a couple steps ahead of the game, it seems to be. So yeah, I don't know. I think he continues to let people know about the PulseChain without really mention. Well, he's probably still going to have to mention. He'll tag people, I think. But again, I don't think he markets and says, "Hey, you have this coin over here at this price. You should probably go check it out." It's going to be more a blast to different communities. He may tag everybody in a bigger post, but.
Why don't you bring up this question here from Larry J. Ewok? I like his question, and so basically he says, any thoughts on the idea that PulseChain simply divided the eHEX pie into smaller pieces? In other words, the total amount of capital in the RH system is roughly the same as prior to PulseChain launching, and limited new money has entered. I mean, yeah, to a degree, that is what's happened so far, because, I mean, we have seen... Basically, I think if PulseChain hadn't launched yet, we would probably be seeing HEX on Ethereum still around, what do you think, 3.5 cents or something like that?
Yeah. 2 to 3 cents. Where it's at now. I really don't think you would see a whole lot of difference from where it's at now with the two prices combined, or just one. There's just not enough new money coming in to get it back up there. That's all.
Yeah. Now, again, this means we're still early. And while, that can seem scary and say like, well, okay, now we just have these 4 tokens or whatever, and it's just all the same money from HEX on Ethereum into these ones. Well, it's probably a little bit more than that money so far, but yes, in the early days, it is going to be like that. There's going to be more adoption. We have to realize that we're getting into a new cycle right now, and you are going to see retail come back, all this new money, there's going to be people coming in this cycle that don't even know what HEX is yet. Like, there are people right now, they're not watching us right now, that won't be here for another year and a half, that don't know what HEX is, and will figure it out by 2025 or something like that. So if you think about that, remember that we just talked about at the beginning of the show, these ETFs and everything. I mean, like, we are still, as much as we feel like we are late because we are in this every single day and want to have massive success and are constantly thinking about it, there's people that have not even awoken to this yet. I mean, just look around you guys, your real life, look around like your family and people So it's going to come, and to what degree that's going to be, and to how many X's we're going to see out of our little tokens here of PulseChain, PulseX, and all this, that remains to be seen. But like I said earlier, I still am sleeping the best at night knowing that that's where I'm hedging my bets and holding all of them pretty much equally, because I want to see where we go. So
Larry's combining Pulse and PulseX in there with that price of eHEX and pHEX too. So I'm assuming it would be like a 1 token combination of one of each equals the old price, which I think you're going to start to see it. That stuff will pull away as because we know the liquidity is set at different ratios. I think once that really starts to pull away, you'll notice a bigger difference than as we're sitting pretty much near the bottom. So I definitely see, although I know it is short term, and I saw that, we're almost a 2-to-1 ratio on the
almost
pHEX. Almost. It's like 0.8 or something like that.
Right.
But I really think pulling that bonding pair between the eHEX, pHEX really had a lot to do with that. I think he wanted the markets to kind of place their bets, and hopefully it comes back. I do want to see them move with some parity anyway, even if it's not complete exact parity. I'd like to see them still move together.
I'm with you. I definitely would like that to come back, and it very well still could. But one thing we have to remember, even though, yeah, Hex on PulseChain I saw was about 87% higher or so earlier today at one point, we are still 7 weeks in. So some people out there need to remember that. Many people need to remember that. But some people that are claiming victory and things like that over an opinion that they have to remember that there's still a long way to go with this.
Yeah.
And I know you're the same way, Ewok, but the only hex that I have bought since the launch of PulseChain has been more hex on Ethereum. So primarily I've been buying PulseChain and PulseX though. So
yeah. I'm trying to pick up a little bit of each. I'm not picky. I'll take a little bit of all four.
Exactly.
I haven't bought any incentive, but I'm still providing liquidity. I'm still earning my INC tokens because I do think that price could go up too. I realize that it is a token that people are going to just dump when they get it. But I still think there could be future use case for it as well as a speculation play. I'll be hanging on to some of that. I do think there could be, again, future use case, whether it be the wallet, whether it be something else that gets us an airdrop. You just never know. So I don't want to part with all of it.
I am with you. Yeah. And that thing's down to about $5.50 at the moment.
Yeah.
But great transition by you because we are going to get into some of the liquidity pools. But if you guys are here and enjoying the stream so far, hit the like. We very much appreciate you joining us here tonight. Throw any good questions there, Larry J. Any questions or comments any of you guys have, hit us up. We'll definitely get to them here at some point in the show. But as far as some of the liquidity pools here, Ewok. So, yeah, we have seen some new ones entered, I think partially because of some of this. PRC-20 copies, the tokens from Ethereum that we just did speak about. So, yeah, the big one that's been pulled is the eHEX pHEX pair. But the main pool that people have been participating in, and I know you have, Ewok, is that PulseChain, PulseX pool, obviously. But the LP providing just hasn't really been that fruitful lately. Incentive token is way down. The ROI just is not very high compared to where it had been. So tell me what it is you're interested in doing as far as LPing and about some of the new farms out there. I haven't really looked into the new ones that much.
I haven't either. But so my biggest thing that I don't want to incur is the impermanent loss. With Pulse and PulseX, for me, it doesn't really matter which one I get. I think they're both going to do extremely well. But some of these other ones that are tied to USDC or DAI or things like that, yes, your rate of your APY is much higher. But so is the risk of impermanent loss. If something runs away from you, you're going to end up with a lot less of the token that you probably want to hang on to. So it's not a game that I want to play. I know there are people that do it and almost have to at some point to provide liquidity so that, there isn't a whole lot of slippage. But again, I'm not playing with anything other than the coins that I like. That was why I really like the eHEX pHEX pair because to me, it didn't matter which one I got. And I could make fees all day long with that and not really care because I know people are going to trade it. But that was when it was closer to I think it was like a 1 to 1.1 ratio whenever I ended up exiting that one. So it didn't really change too much. I wish it would come back as a farming opportunity, but again, not right now because the more bonded it gets, the closer it will stay to that ratio. I think we need to get it back a little closer before that happens. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And there are opportunities for the liquidity providing. It's going to get better. There's going to be a lot more farms as these PRC-20s do pick up more volume eventually, and that's when they could really go through the roof. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But remember, we've talked about this. There's been a lot of people with the excitement with PulseChain and these yield farms getting so excited to participate in them that they were like emergency end staking hex,
Yeah,
which is just asinine. Like, you do not want to do that. Forget about where the price is going or who's claiming that eHEX is going to die or anything like that. It's not going to happen, and it's just objectively a bad move when you understand the hex smart contract. So don't do anything like that. But if you're really in need of yield right now and really wanting it, we talked about this last week, forget about LPing or anything. Don't get upset about the stupid. I think it's going to come eventually either way. I mean, Richard said it, but don't worry about PulseX. Everything all right over there? I don't know what that was.
I don't know what that was either. Sorry.
Okay. The PulseX single-sided staking, that's going to be coming eventually, but just stake hex. I mean, like that's really the biggest opportunity there is right now. And you can tell, I mean, there's a lot of people here that are more like PulseChain investors or new to PulseChain that forget what hex is, don't understand what hex is, and just maybe don't even have any interest in figuring out what it is right now.
Yeah.
But that's how you should be earning your yield if you're that upset about where the prices are right now, in my opinion.
I agree. Dave asks how many X's is from 0.008 to all-time high.
I mean,
well,
150 or so.
No, it's 67.5. I thought it was higher than that too.
Oh, you're right. My bad. Yeah, 67. My bad. I was thinking. I usually assume it's going to go to $1 eventually, so I was thinking more like that. But yeah, about 67.
Well, previous all-time high, that is, not the future. So we don't know what it'll go to. A lot of people are speculating that it could hit $1 this time. I don't see why it stops there, as long as people don't all dump at once at the wrong time.
Yeah. Psychological resistance, but yeah, still about a 68 off of the all-time high, and then it would be probably like a 35x is for hex on PulseChain, but it's actually a new token, so that's a little bit different. So So again, I'm a fan, and like you said too earlier, Ewok, I really want to spread the wealth out over all the tokens there. So I saw Larry J. You said you agree with Ewok. I just want to buy all 4. I do too. I'm totally in agreement with that. I guess what I meant is when in terms of hex, if your assumption, I'm just speaking for me, I'm just sharing what I'm doing. I'm not telling you what to do, but if you being anyone, me, if you're assuming that there is going to be parity between those two tokens at some point, or they're going to be pretty closely bonded together more than any other token in this ecosystem, I'm just going to buy the one that's discounted right now. And not only that, but like, I just love, I mean, I don't love that it's happening, but like the max amount of FUD and fear and content creation all these people are doing to try to kill hex on Ethereum for bragging rights or whatever. It's just prime buy the dip territory for me. That's why that's what I was focusing on. That's all. So
buy the discount. And if it flips, I'm sure you'll buy more of the PulseChain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
just give me who's losing. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna buy what's lower. So
agree.
Yeah. So and that's not the same argument as like, I don't even want to get into that. Just forget about it. I was going to talk about like which one is better to onboard somebody into. We've had that discussion, and I don't want to get swept up in that right now. But because we're going to talk about it.
Well, I was going to say we should touch on it a little bit anyway, and that's if you want to stake. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, we will get there. And actually, what I'm going to say now is kind of in that direction too a little bit. But in terms of Richard's tweets, because there was another one earlier this week, I just wrote in my notes here, another week and another group of people thinking that every RH tweet about PulseChain means to sell your eHEX. And that's because earlier in the week, he said, hex on PulseChain has been quietly outperforming Pulse. Just basically quoting the ratio between the two, and that hex on PulseChain has been outperforming the actual Pulse token. And then it lit up with all these comments and all these people saying, see, he's telling you to sell hex on Ethereum. Like, he's not even talking about anything to do with that. He's just one of the few positives right now of price action is that hex is outperforming the L1 token on PulseChain. That's all it was about. So again, I mean, I don't think it really matters. I don't think eHEX is going to ever die. And I'm interested in what Randy Hilarski said this the other day. I think it was when he was on with Crypto Coffee, which was a really good stream, great conversation, 2 Hex OGs that are really fun to listen to. But Randy said that the way he put it is that hex on Ethereum will be the Ferrari of hex. And what he meant by that was that it'll be the whale chain. And we have heard people say that, the more expensive that Ethereum gets, even though I think they will cut their costs down the line, PulseChain's already helped with that. But he's basically, his synopsis has been that, you know, the bigger buyers and the ones that have been in since the beginning, we're still only 3 years into this thing, will be staking and buying hex on Ethereum. What do you think about that notion also, Ewok?
Well, I think a lot of them already are. A lot of
Mm.
people have ladders in place. I'm one of them. I'm not going to abandon it. However, as far as being the Ferrari, I agree. The whales don't care about gas prices. I do think you're right. I think they will fix it down the road, but no promises, right? Who out of the miners wants to make less money? So, I mean, I think the pressure that PulseChain puts on Ethereum will probably incentivize them to fix their fees. I think it's going to be a good thing, not only to lower the fees by pulling some business over, but I also think I don't want to say threatens them, but I think it incentivizes them to fix it. So they do get some of the business that they may lose to PulseChain back over on their chain. So just a thought.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, I mean, like if you're Ethereum, I mean, like, yeah, it's the most successful, well-known L1 in existence, but you still would think as we get to the top of this bull market again, I mean, like the cost of some of these NFTs to mint and stuff like that, just some of the things that you see, you know, Vitalik can't be proud exactly of where that is. There needs to be a solution for that. So we'll see how that goes. Obviously, there's L2s and L1s popping up all over the place, and PulseChain figures to be in that conversation, obviously, and already is really. So we are going to get a little bit more into the hex staking game theory here at the end of the show. I'm really excited for that conversation, and we will kind of talk about, as far as somebody new coming to the ecosystem and staking hex, is it Ethereum or PulseChain that you would want to start on? Why? There's so many angles to it. So we'll speed through some of this other stuff. I want to talk about a couple of these new tools that are awesome because so many people, you know, if any of you are new to Hex or PulseChain or anything, people build all this awesome stuff for free out here. And one of them is this PortalXSwap. I know we've been talking about getting into this for a couple of weeks, Ewok. Did you want to maybe bring it up on your side and share your screen, and then I'll put the link in the chat for everybody?
Yeah, I'll bring it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it is this from the Power City guys? Is that
It is.
who?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's from Power City, and basically what PortalXSwap does is essentially, from what I can see, it's basically a bridge and a DEX in one, right? Where you can just basically, if you had, say,
yes,
whatever Ethereum, you could just bridge it and swap it all immediately for whatever token you want to on PulseChain.
It is a complete cross-chain swap.
Right.
Utility is what it does. So yes, you can pick coins from, say, if you want to even start with Polygon, and go into PulseChain and get Pulse directly. All you're doing is, if you want to swap, let's say a 500 Matic,
probably a good idea.
That would be a good idea. It would take you directly into your native Pulse chain,
right.
Pulse tokens, without using the bridge. Now, there is a bridge obviously built in. Part of their centralized network is Change Now as part of that. But again, it does it all for you. And, it's pretty slick. You can go from any coin on any network into Pulse natively without having to bridge and then unwrap and then do any of the swaps like that. This does it all right for you. So it's pretty cool. It's very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, because if you have bridged in before and then had to swap that. Now, I mean, I was honestly ecstatic when we just had wrapped Pulse on Ethereum, because then I was happy to just, buy Pulse basically on Ethereum. And then all you got to do is bridge it over. It turns into Pulse automatically. This even eliminates another step of that. And you can get rid of those dirty Matic coins or dirty Solana or whatever you got there, and just swap them into the asset of your choice on PulseChain. Now, a question I just had might be a stupid question. I don't know. I don't know the answer, and some people watching may not know. What are the fee structures like for this? Like, because we know that when you bridge over, I mean, you're going to have a bridge fee on Ethereum. There's a 3% charge from PulseChain on any tokens coming in. And then, whether you're swapping a token on Ethereum and then doing it in the backend on a PulseChain, there's some kind of other fee too. So what does this look like here as far as fees for doing this?
Not exactly sure as far as percentages go. I think Change Now, if I'm not mistaken, is it a 3% fee? I'm not exactly sure. You'll have to play around with it. Play around with smaller amounts first. Don't make one huge transaction and then be like, oh shit, they just took $100. I really don't know what the fees are.
I haven't done a transaction yet. Yeah.
Set your slippage to what it is. It will still route the best possible. It says, for 500 BNB, which is a lot, because that's going to give you over 1 billion pulse. But let's just look at 5 BNB. That's still going to get you 12 million pulse. And it looks like there's only a 1.97% slippage, or I'm sorry, price impact. Says there's no slippage whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so let's do USD first before.
It's a good idea.
And that way we can see not available.
Wrong one.
BNB.
Oh,
wait. Yeah, let's do this way. Yeah, so 5 BNB.
Oh, here you go. See the network fee down there? It says $17.
Where are you seeing that?
Network fee.
Here. Network fee, $17.50. So it did not have that though for so if we went into PulseChain and went to Pulse, that wasn't there. No charge.
Do you think it's because, is it talking about USDC on Ethereum? Was that like an Ethereum gas fee maybe?
Probably, yes.
Like an estimate? Yeah.
Yep. I bet that's what it is, because here I think they're eating the cost of the network fee. So that's what that would be. The protocol fee and then the network fee would be no charge. So yeah, I mean, this is a great
if that's
way.
True.
Yeah.
I'm amazed if that. I mean, if you can really just bridge over and do all of that and do the swap without paying a fee.
Yep.
I can't imagine that's how it actually works. I mean, I'll give it a shot and try it, but
because the PortalX folks are Power City, they probably invested quite heavily as well into PulseChain and the dApps. Maybe they're making it more attractive to do it for free, so they could be eating those couple penny fees on our behalf. So it's
sweet.
Yeah,
it definitely looks good. And it eliminates a whole step for people. So I think this is a big deal, and I haven't really seen people talking about it as much. It's a good tool for new people coming in.
There's also limit orders on here too, so keep that in mind. And you can do cross-chain limit orders, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then you've got your revoke as well, like revoke.cash. The app that you use to remove all the permissions, this has that as well built right into it. So it's a pretty cool website. Power City folks are working tirelessly to bring us a bunch of stuff. I know there's more stuff coming, but this is one of the first ones, and it's really cool. So check it out.
Yeah, I would say that's one of the premier innovations we've seen so far, to eliminate a whole step and then have the fees not even be that high either. So I did put the link in the chat. It's just I lost it. PortalXSwap.io.
Yes.
Yep. Sweet. Now the other one I wanted to get to is the GoPulse portfolio tracker. They have a Twitter profile as well that I've been following, and they're doing a lot of stuff. It's just at gopulse.com. Now it primarily is a portfolio tracker, but you can also buy Pulse, I believe, on there, as well as some other stuff. There's all kinds of stuff there. They have the prices, of course, for everything, but it's one of those apps. Basically, I don't think they have an app yet. It's just the site Works well on mobile, obviously, but you can just plug in all of your Ethereum and or PulseChain wallets right on there. You don't have to connect them or anything like that. I'm always leery of that with any site. You just copy in your public address. That's all you do. It will then read pretty much every token you've got. Now I actually just DM'd with them the other day. They're constantly making updates to this. There's new stuff out almost every day. They do have it integrated, and to my knowledge, they're the first to do this other than the Staker app, but they've already integrated HEX stakes into there. So if you do connect your wallet, it will be updating your HEX total as new money from your stakes come in every single day.
Yep.
It'll have your Pulse tokens and all that. Now, Hedron staking is not right in there yet. I don't know anybody that has gotten that corrected yet. I think they are working on it, I saw. As of now, I had to manually add in my Hedron and Icosa. But it looks like they are, I think that they're trying to integrate the Hedron stakes as well, which would be really cool. You'll also notice on there, something that I always like in any kind of portfolio tracker is I want to see that little pie chart. I want to see the percentages of everything that I have. That's not in there yet, but they told me that they're working on that right now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you reached out. Nice.
Yeah. So
I was looking for a random address to just plug in here and don't have any handy that aren't mine or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
nothing you want to dox anyway, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just GoPulse.com. They're doing updates to it every day. And I think we all probably like Staker app's not perfect. We also have Hex Scout, which I know we've looked at before, that is trying to in some way challenge the Staker app. I don't even know what they're building, to be honest. I haven't checked in with that lately, but
it's very similar to this. There's going to be all kind of functionality, multiple, obviously multiple addresses, tracking, staking. I think they're planning on doing a full front end as well. So you'll be able to stake right from there too.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is very cool. Yeah. That's the thing with a lot of these new DeFi products that we're still, kind of new into DeFi. It's still difficult for people to understand. You got to go here, just like we talked about a moment ago with bridging in, then swapping and fee here, fee there with the PortalX thing, making that better. These people integrating everything into one less step, even sometimes, is a really big deal. So it's awesome that we have this going on.
It's awesome. And, you got the fiat guys as well doing their stuff too. Is it Fatty? Fatty.
I know that.
Well, I think Ryan just commented here about Fatty as well, and they also have a portfolio tracker too. So, it's just all kind of cool stuff coming out to essentially do the same thing, but they all have their own little twists. So check them all out. We'll should be able to put the links in the description of the video of some of these if we remember.
I'll do that too on the back end when we splice everything up. But I'll do that too. There's the Fatty one. I'll check out the Fatty portfolio tracker. I haven't really messed around with that one yet, so I will. I'll check that out too. I'm a sucker for a really good, sleek portfolio tracker. So whoever makes the best one, I'll be after. So I want to finish off with this conversation because this is going to be a doozy. I think it's going to be a good one. We'll answer Larry J's question there at the end. So I want to talk about this staking thing. So we have been talking about getting back to the basics of HEX staking now for a few weeks, whether that's on Ethereum, whether that's on PulseChain. Everybody has got the shiny new toy syndrome, understandably so. I'm not blaming anybody with PulseChain and with PulseX and all these things. And a lot of people are forgetting about HEX. I think the further we get into this market and when newer participants come that, again, as we said earlier, didn't even know what HEX was to begin with, let alone PulseChain or PulseX. HEX is still the awesome thing that Richard created that was really a first when it came to crypto, like the first ever CD, creating a CD ladder and earning this kind of crazy yield by just minting your own tokens. I mean, there's nothing that's been made as good as the HEX smart contract. So we have, and we can first talk about like if somebody were being onboarded, which may be the best one to get into. But the main purpose of my conversation here was, you can stake HEX out to 5,555 days. That's about 15 years. Some people are all about that. Some people, there's been growing narrative from, and everybody's different, and that it's not a one size fits all thing here. But people have been talking about shorter stakes recently with a bigger principal because prices are so low. You're able to pick up a lot of HEX now and a lot of T-shares. There's also the idea of cycle top timing your stakes where, okay, well, if you think this bull cycle is going to kind of be wrapping up or at a fever pitch in like the fall of 2025, maybe sprinkle some stakes to come to an end at that time. And then there's just the idea, I mean, some people just don't even want to stake. Like some people, and this may be some of the new ones that don't really understand HEX, they may not even want to do it all together and just want to be liquid and wait till we're kind of in that section where we're at the top of the bull cycle, sell, buy back in when we're at an 80+% dip or whatever it may be. This conversation, shout out to Corey Geary and Money Talks with Dane. I saw them having this conversation the other day. I thought it was riveting. Those two guys, there's an example of a couple of guys. They have less subs than us. Usually we're talking about somebody who has more than us. Corey Geary and Money Talks with Dane, they do like streams together a couple of days a week. It's two separate channels. But check those guys out because Corey Geary, they're also real estate investors. I like their whole setup. They talk about crypto as the means to initially build the wealth over the next decade, and then real estate as a way to preserve it, which I think is a great idea. I mean, it's really what I've kind of been thinking about doing as well. But they had a great conversation about this the other day and not doing 15-year stakes, more so trying to just time it because HEX has gone down 99%. There was, of course, a stock split in this scenario as well. But yeah, there's people kind of against doing the longer term stakes. I know not a lot of people, some people don't like B Roots in this community, but he also has talked about, he doesn't even think, what if HEX isn't even that relevant in 15 years? So first off, I want to ask you, Ewok, in terms of somebody new, like if you were helping somebody new come to HEX, would you rather get them on Ethereum or PulseChain, and why? If not, or both, whatever it might be to you. And then we'll get into kind of like the game theory of the actual stakes here.
Well, for somebody new, I think it really depends on how much they're putting in. Everybody's going to be different. It's, you know, there, like you said, there is no one size fits all kind of solution for this. I think people should have exposure to both, especially coming in now. You know, a lot of people that came in before that we onboarded do have exposure to both because of the copy that they got. Right now, though, if they're only putting in $100 or $200 or something like that, PulseChain may be the right answer. Only because the fees, you know, we don't want to eat them up. I was looking at the gas fees earlier and they're back up around 45 or 50. Yep. 48 right now. So I don't think that it makes sense to have somebody lose a fourth of what they're trying to invest in fees. Doesn't give them the best example or the best experience, I should say, for their first time. It's kind of intimidating when you have to blow that much on fees. So for a newer person with a smaller amount, yes, PulseChain. I think, though, if somebody's got a larger bag to invest, you want them to experience it all. I would try to get them to look at all four, right? All of our four main things. And then as far as staking goes, you know, again, there's no simple answer. You've got to look at what you want because there are so many options. You know, for me, I'm laddered out 15 years. I will continue to put a new one out around the 15th of every month that comes out on the 1st of every month for 15 years because I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be like. I don't know if I'll even be alive then. I mean, I hope I am, but you know, you just never know these things. You don't know what's going to happen, but you do want to be prepared. What if, you know, what if Richard did this, you know, what if he built a better Bitcoin? What if it is relevant in 15 years? What if B Roots isn't relevant next week? You know,
don't hate on B Roots. I just found out he was a pro wrestler for a period of time. I heard his interview with that Lit Life coaching guy. He was literally in the WWE. like in the, I don't know if he was in like NXT or if that even existed back then, but yeah, he anyway, neither here nor there, but
yeah, but
almost
either way, I'm not a fan. Just because he is a moon boy. He does like to pump and dump things, and it really can get a lot of people wrecked if they're not paying attention. So I don't like that style. I would rather have somebody go long term, plan for the future, delay gratification. That's why Hex exists. And for anybody that does want to play the cycles or whatever it may be, then fine. I mean, everybody's different. So if you think that you're going to be smart and time the cycles, well, then end it at the end of this cycle, and then maybe go another 4 years after that and end it at that cycle. That's 2 cycles. I just can't see not using Hex the way it was designed. There's so many positives about it that keep you from damaging yourself. It just doesn't make sense to just hold it liquid when you could be making more of that token. And guess what? If you're making more, you're not down 99% because the amount you've earned over that time cuts into that so much. It just, again, it doesn't make sense to me to not use it the way it was designed because it is flawless in its operation. It's flawless in its execution. Holding it liquid is just diluting yourself to everybody else that is staking. So,
So I want to say I agree with you and disagree with you. And again, this is a one size fits all. So I mean, like, whether agreeing and disagreeing isn't really like a I win, you lose type of thing. Everybody's life is a little bit different. So I agree with you. Like, I do agree. Like, the staking mechanism, I think, is too good to not be used. I would not want to have just all liquid hex. I would not be a fan of that. That said, even though you're right about like the amount of yield, depending upon how big your principal is, depending upon how long your stake is, how many T-shares it is, the amount of yield you could be getting is impactful. But I think like the opportunity cost, I don't think Hex is going to go down. Now, again, it only went down 99% on Ethereum this time because of the split. It had bottomed at 1.8 cents back in December. And I think that if there was no PulseChain, I think that would have been the bottom. We'd be looking at a 97% drop. It's maybe you could say, okay, it's still almost 99, whatever. Either way, I do think there's a huge opportunity cost at not being able to. I'm not talking about trading. I'm just talking about market cycle timing a little bit, and not even in one fell swoop. I mean, Hex was at 53 cents September of 2021, and it wasn't there long, but still, as Hex hits 30 cents, as Hex hits 40 cents, 50 cents during that time, you could have been scaling slowly, just little bits out of your position or so, to then buy back when Hex is sub 10 cents again or something like that. Like, and you can make these parameters at the beginning. I mean, like, you should have a plan. I'm not saying that, like, I could just sit here and say like exactly what you could have done. Hindsight's 2020. You need to have that timed out. Like, to me, I would rather be buying back in the 80% plus down again in the next bear market or something. You need to have those parameters set up. And again, that's not for everybody. What you just reminded me of, Ewok, when you said it's saving yourself from yourself, and I understand that's what the point of the contract was, and 15 years and all that. It reminds me very much of the Dave Ramsey credit card argument. Okay, Dave Ramsey, love him or hate him, he talks about, like, for the average American who, let's face it, is kind of a dumbass. I mean, they're terrible with money, and irresponsible with credit, and yada yada yada. He is like, you shouldn't be in debt. You shouldn't have a credit card. The Bible says you don't want to be in debt, and all this stuff. So I understand that for most people. Like, I understand most people shouldn't be in debt, shouldn't have credit cards. They don't know how to handle it. They're impulsive buyers, whatever. I love using credit cards. I like to leverage them. I like to get sign-on bonuses. And I never carry a balance. I should have credit cards. I think it's something similar with the staking game theory. It's like, yourself. I know my conviction level. I know I'm not a paper hand boy. I know I'm not going to sell at the bottom. So for me, if I have something liquid, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, what if I capitulate? I know I'm not going to capitulate.
Right.
I don't think I. But this is what I
Well,
mean. It's a character thing. You really got to know yourself, I think. So.
sure. And I never said 100% stake.
Mm-hmm.
Keep some liquid. That's perfectly fine. Set something for you if you want to keep 80-20, 80% stake, 20% liquid. That way you can catch those opportunities that, Larry J said, I'm not staked for the same reasons that you're talking about, basically. And that's the opportunity for when it does go to 30 or 50 or 70 cents or whatever it may go. If you have a little liquid, then you don't have to emergency end stake. That's something that you really don't want to do, especially during, those times. Again, though, that could be somebody else's strategy. Brazology said because he was staked, though, he had a lot of free hex that he was able to sacrifice with. Right. So again, this is not going to be a one size fits all for anybody. And it's really going to have to be tailored to your lifestyle, your age, your exposure. There's a lot of things. If you're 65, 70 years old, then I wouldn't go 5-5-5-5. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I didn't mean that funny, but I'm
just thinking of an 80-year-old staking hack. I mean, I'm sure it's happened. I don't know.
I'm sure. I mean, I know Hex 19 is getting up there. He's one of our OG guys that has been in for a while. I don't know what his staking ladder looks like. I'm sure he has probably said at one point he was one of the guys that got a SIM swap and got hacked at one point for quite a bit.
Wow.
But an older gentleman, I know he's probably in his late 70s at least. So, again, you really just have to, leave a little bit on the bone. But again, that's why I said using Hex the way it was designed. If you're not doing it, it just doesn't make sense with, even if it's 50% of your bag, earn more. It definitely helps the, it helps the downswing, the downturn when you're making that much more every single day. And it's almost like DCA every single day. It's like dollar cost averaging at these low prices without really doing anything, so yeah, that's my thoughts and would be my strategy. But again, everyone's different.
Yeah, and clearly, I'm not saying don't stake at all. I'm actually very heavily staked right now. But yeah, I just I just mean that there's different ways to do it, and I think people have to figure out what's going to be best for them. It's not an argument where somebody's right, somebody's wrong, or anything like that, because your mind, there could be a decision you make that isn't the optimal decision when all is said and done, but if it helped you with how your mental view of finance and money and how this whole crypto thing works, if it helps you sleep better at night, then it is actually the best for you,
Yep. Yes, Ryan, that's who that was.
Yeah.
To answer your question.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested in staking hacks. I just, I understand the people that this is also going to change when your wealth changes. So like if you make it through a cycle and then if you make it through 2 cycles, you're not, I would assume you wouldn't be as eager to do 15-year stakes. You might be thinking even more short term because you go into wealth preservation mode a little bit then.
Well, and so here's something else to think about too, is if you're going to do different time frames, excuse me, I would do your shorter stakes probably on Ethereum, and your longer stakes on PulseChain. If you own both, it's just a thought, because the longer the stake is, the more calculations that have to be done, the higher the fees. So at the same time, it has to be worthwhile, that you don't want to stake so short that you're eating into your profit if the fees are that high. So, that's something else that you also want to consider. But yeah, I mean, if you're doing large amounts for a shorter period of time, Ethereum side may be the better way. I don't know. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's what we're going to see too. I mean, we're going to also see. We've talked about, and maybe you can pull it up on the back end, Ewok, but the payout per T-Share. We're going to be monitoring that as we do go, and we've been figuring that Hex on Ethereum, you are going to start getting a larger piece of that pie, if the trend continues in this direction. And, so far it hasn't been anything super significant, but if that does happen, we talked about it earlier, Randy Hilarski calling eHEX the Ferrari or whatever, basically, that's where the bigger spenders will go. If the payout per T-share is better there, you may see that continue. So let me see, what do we got there?
I'm gonna blow it up a little bit here for us.
There you go. Yeah, so it's still slightly ahead, it looks like.
Yeah, they're pretty close, but right here, the hex T-share price is still what gets me. $216 for a T-share on Ethereum, $407 on PulseChain, and about 35 cents on Hedron.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
and that's that discount we said earlier. I mean, it's almost an 87% split at the current moment. So that's why I've been interested in buying Hex on Ethereum right now and staking Hex on Ethereum. So, there's so many angles now. I mean, certainly I'm with you. Obviously, you said earlier, if somebody new was coming in, I'd recommend or share what I'm doing, and that's that I'm buying all of these tokens. But the Hex staking game theory, I think we need to get more videos on this and more streams on this, and I do think that will happen again as this market goes on. The economic energy and the thoughts, I think, will start steering more towards how do I make yield in crypto and how do I stay in this for longer term, and that's going to be Hex. So
right, even our audience has different opinions too, and Briz says $100,000 worth of Hex will get you about $700 a month. And then I agree with Johnny that he says it's more for years, not months.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't keep a promise, don't make it, basically.
Exactly. So. And that's the whole thing. That's the great thing about the smart contract is if you did what you said you were going to do, you're going to be rewarded. If you don't, you're it's going to cost you
exactly.
dearly in some scenarios.
Yep.
And I agree with what Johnny said. I mean, months months, throw it out the window. That's like the BankX type stuff. Like I wouldn't be interested in monthly stakes, and obviously there's people that are like huge whales that do that and like to make yield for 30-day periods or whatever. But I mean, for the average buyer, you're going to be looking at like a year minimum. And then doing it off that. So even if 15 scares you too much and you can't even imagine that far in the future, just maybe go out a couple of cycles, do half of that, like go out 8 years or something and, split it up. And even to what you said earlier, Ewok, even though we know that these 4-year cycles have been very dependable and you can kind of time them and stuff like that, down to the month, you really can't. And you really, when you're starting to get like 2 cycles out, and it's like, okay, I think, probably December 2029 is when Bitcoin will be at $500,000 or whatever. And, you're likely going to be wrong. So I don't think there's a point.
For sure.
It's hard to even do the cycle thing. So that's why people do talk about having actual staking ladders annually, and just kind of going on from there. So that's kind of just a way of punting it where you can't be wrong.
Yeah, or even quarterly. I mean, if you want to break them up quarterly, make sure they're worthwhile. Like, don't break it down so much that the value isn't earning enough. But quarterly is also something good, or semi-annually.
Mm-hmm.
That way you can kind of pick out some different times and have some things ending. And then if you miss the top or whatever, or don't need it at that point, restake it. Like, it doesn't, no one says you have to sell, and I would never sell at all. Even if you're just peeling off your yield that you made, and then putting it again back out in the future, because we don't know what's going to happen. And, if we treat it the way it was designed, I think you're going to have a better experience than if you just try to hold it liquid and get diluted. Just my opinion.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. You have to know yourself. And shout out to Dave Ramsey. I thought that was an apt comparison here for those two things. But hey, if you guys enjoyed the stream tonight, hit the like. We really appreciate it. Lots of action in the chat tonight. We appreciate everybody being here. You can feel the steam picking up here, I think, on this ecosystem. I mean, I know we are still down in the depths. We're down in the lows. PulseX is pretty much at its all-time low in terms of after the ratio trading period. We are going to get green candles, though. There's going to be more people coming to this. The excitement is around the corner. So, we are buying at these prices. We definitely want to be buying all of these tokens right now. And I'm just excited for what's to come. We got a lot of fun stuff to come for crypto in the next 2 years. This is going to be an absolutely wild cycle, I think. So,
we'll touch on Ryan's comment here too. And he says the whole argument is why the Maximus perpetuals are awesome. If you hold them, you can cash them in when the stakes expire. If you need the cash, you just sell them at any time. So, they are holding a somewhat steady value right now. We'll see how they, how they perform in the next market. I don't see why they wouldn't, because they are, again, redeemable, and you are going to see discounts and premiums on those as well. I think one of the first ones are the base one, the 1 year one. I think it's coming up here pretty soon for redemption, or if you don't do anything, I think it just restakes for you. So I will have to look into that, but good call on that. I forgot all about it, but I think that it is coming up here pretty soon on the 1 year.
Nice.
So
good shout out, Ryan.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Ewok, I think that wraps us up pretty much tonight. There's a good conversation. If you guys are new, anybody here tonight, we do this every single Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think it's good that we do, because we've checked on this. We just happened to do it at this time because it worked for us, but we've checked on this, and most of the big hex streams of the people that have been around forever and everybody watches, like Matty Allen. Randy's actually limiting his streams a little bit more, but we kind of have this time slot, I think, carved out for the most part. It seems like we don't have a lot of competition, if you will, anyway, at this time. So cornering the 8 p.m. Wednesday.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Before I know you brought up Matty. I don't know if you guys are aware, but his new contract, timepays.me, is a locking contract that will allow you to lock up your PulseX, and it also is supposed to protect you from the event of a hack. It has a backup smart vault involved, so you might want to give that a look, check it out. It's timepays.me. So give that just want to give him a shout out. It went live. Even if you don't use it, probably claim one of your smart vaults anyway, in case you do change your mind. I don't know how many will be available. I know they're not cheap, but they're eating the cost. But I would definitely, give it a look, see if it's for you. It might not be.
And he's been streaming about it a lot this week. I saw he's done like 2 or 3 streams just showing how it works and everything. So definitely check it out. Basically a way in which you can lock up Pulse to, I'm not going to get way into it. You can watch his videos, but to get more Pulse later. So very good stuff. Matty Allen always creating a lot of cool stuff. So that's going to wrap us up. Again, we do this every single Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So for Ewok, this has been Boi Crypto. We will catch you guys next week right here on the Creed of Crypto podcast.